Episode of Secrets of Herbal Healing, where we simplify otherwise complex things and empower you by making them useful in your everyday life. So, today, what we're talking about is, are toxins making us sick? And this is a really interesting subject because the mainstream medical profession, maybe the media as well, often scoff at the idea of detoxing and say it's a waste of time. So, what I'm here to do today is to share how some of the most common health conditions that we suffer from in our modern society may be caused by toxins and what we're not doing about it. So, this will be really interesting. All right, so what I'm going to do is talk through some of the most common health conditions, and a large number of these, or the majority of these, are in fact listed as cause unknown. So if you look in medical texts for these conditions, you'll often find that the causes are unknown, which is really interesting. So why do a lot of the most common health conditions in our society today have cause unknown? And what is this unknown cause? And why do we often see it mentioned in medical literature? Unknown cause. Don't you think we should have figured this out by now? What's actually causing a lot of these health conditions and health problems? So that's what we're going to reveal. And as usual, I'll be sharing with you links to, you'll actually find the link to this page, in the top corner here. And that will give you links to all the research that we're talking about. You can follow through. And I'll be sharing with you also a powerful tool that you can use to calculate your toxicity level and figure out what may be the cause of a health problem for you. So I'm going to share my screen now, and we'll just have a little look at this subject. So, are toxins making us sick? Good question. And it's a question we should definitely be asking when we go to our doctor, not just what prescription or what drug can you give me to make me better? It's in fact, what is causing the problem? And if the doctor says we don't know what causes this problem, that should raise major alarm bells, or a red flag to think, well, why don't you know what causes this problem? And that should also make you think, well, perhaps it is what Brett's talking about. Perhaps it is toxicity, and investigate that further. So today I'm going to give you a tool. You can see it on the page here, toxin calculator. So if you follow through to the page, you'll get access to this toxin calculator. And this will help you investigate, could the toxins that are you exposed to, and could they be causing a health problem? So we really need to be asking this question, and I think our scientific community, our medical fraternity especially, are not asking this question. So let's look at common digestive problems. Now, the most common digestive issue, and a lot of us suffer with this throughout our lifetime, is acid reflux. And in fact, acid reflux is the most common digestive problem on the planet. And it's the most common drug prescribed or most common drug purchased in the world are antacids. And so the drug companies know this very well because it's the number one selling drug on earth are antacids. So in other words, we suffer hugely with digestive issues, indigestion, acid reflux, heartburn. They're all kind of related, and they're called GERD. You'll see it here, GERD, which is gastrointestinal reflux disease. And interestingly, affects about 20% of the population. And so, like we were talking about before, this is fascinating. The number one cause, unknown. Amazing. The number one drug on the earth that we're using, and we're using it for something that has a cause unknown. That's a good business model, isn't it? When you think about it. Well, shouldn't we figure out what the problem is? And so another fascinating thing here is these bullet points are the causes that the medical profession believe is the cause of acid reflux and indigestion and heartburn. And number one thing is, apart from unknown, is being overweight or obese. And obviously, when you're pregnant, well, that can be explained, if you're pregnant. there's something in your stomach, or not in your stomach, but in your body, in your abdomen, which is causing a trouble with digestion. So that makes sense. But if you're overweight, obese, that also makes sense. That's a number one problem. But then we've got certain medicines that are prescribed, and the rest of this list is, believe it or not, pharmaceuticals. So the main cause of acid reflux is probably pharmaceuticals. And apart from that, how can it be related to toxins apart from pharmaceuticals? Well, we know that processed foods and meats lack fiber and enzymes. So without fiber and without enzymes, and also largely without water, because your body uses a huge amount of water for digestion. It's called hydrolysis. And in fact, that's the main digestive function in your gut, in your stomach, is hydrolysis using water. So if anybody says don't drink water with your food, they're wrong. In fact, most food, fresh fruits and vegetables, are about 90% water. So in other words, if you're having food that's not fruit and vegetables, you need to drink water, because that will help you digest those foods. And that's the biggest problem with acid reflux. Not enough water, not enough fiber, not enough enzymes, and pharmaceuticals. And things that are hard to digest: meat, nuts, eggs, protein foods. They're the hardest foods to digest. And of course, this has a spin-off of when we're having sluggish digestion or trouble digesting food in our stomach, towards inflammatory bowel disease. And this is another major concern. Now, interestingly enough, this whole topic about toxicity and its connection to detoxification in the body, which is another thing that's made fun of almost by the medical profession, and is, we don't need a detox because we've got a digestive system, we've got a detoxification system, our bowels, our liver, our kidneys. So we're going to focus today mainly on these systems: the bowels, the liver, the kidneys, and even the lungs. They're actually a detox organ as well. So these are your detox systems in your body: your bowels, your liver, kidneys, and your lungs. They get rid of toxins out of the body. So you can see the connection, that these are the systems that have the most common problems, the most common health conditions, and they're also the ones that have causes unknown. The cause is unknown. So can you see how these things can be connected? It's pretty obvious to me. And this is, in my investigation, something that is just blowing my mind, is why don't the health professionals, why doesn't the health system acknowledge? So let's talk about inflammatory bowel disease. If you're having trouble with digestion, you could eventually end up with inflammatory bowel disease. And it's a huge percentage of people that suffer with it. And interestingly, here you'll see again, we do not know the exact cause. We don't know what's causing this. We're scratching our heads. This is crazy. But we think it's an abnormal immune response. The immune system is attacking our own body for some reason, and we don't know why. Well, probably the reason is because we're putting substances in our body that don't belong there, and so the body wants to get rid of them, and the immune system starts to respond. That's also pretty common sense to me. So how can inflammatory bowel disease be related? So this includes irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, diverticulitis. There's quite a list of inflammatory bowel diseases. Processed foods, breads and meats cause gut inflammation. And this is in a multitude of ways. So first of all, we mentioned above that they struggle to digest because they don't have the fiber and the enzymes and the water and the things your digestive system needs. They're lacking in the prebiotics, the probiotics, the natural organisms that we need to digest food. Very, very simple understanding of digestion required to know that. So we need the prebiotic fiber, the enzymes, and we also need the good fats to support a healthy gut. And so when we have pharmaceutical drugs, when we have processed foods, when we have too much meat, and the gut becomes inflamed and the immune system starts to attack ourselves. So you can read more about these conditions. I've done separate articles on these and researched them in a bit more depth, and give you herbal solutions and food-based solutions for these as well. Bowel cancer, this is a hugely escalating problem as well. But the interesting thing is with bowel cancer, and we know we have very high rates of bowel cancer in New Zealand, interestingly, because we have a very, very high meat consumption. There's a strong connection with that. But here's a really interesting thing. Bowel cancer causes, the known causes. In fact, sorry, it does say here again, the cause is unknown, but these are risk factors. So the risk factors are inflammatory bowel disease, which we just talked about, and Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. So you take one step back, you can go up the chain, and you can see how eventually cancer can occur. And then the next factor is a diet low in fruits and vegetables. Again, processed food diet, it's your worst enemy. A low fiber, high fat diet. So a low fiber diet is having too much meat, too much protein. It's high acid forming, low fiber, no enzymes. There you go. That's a powerful connection to right back to the most common condition on the planet, which is acid reflux and indigestion. So if you're suffering with acid reflux, indigestion, bloating or gas, heartburn, or any of those things, then you're in the pipeline for these more severe conditions, and you need to do something about it. And so that's really, you can see the progression towards this. Overweight, obesity, alcohol consumption, and tobacco use. So these are all connected with bowel cancer. Right, so moving on to the liver now. And this is the next stage. So you take the food in, goes to your stomach, your intestines, your bowel, and then all the nutrients are absorbed through the venous system to the liver. So that's where they end up. And so liver problems are also very common. And this is another misconception that, our detox systems will deal with everything. We've got, bowels and liver and kidneys. They're not dealing with things. They're not. They're simply not. And that's why we have these diseases. That's the primary cause of our most common conditions, is toxicity. And I'm going to rattle on about this for many years, I think. But we will break, as we go through these weeks, we're going to break things down. We're going to get into specific foods, specific herbs, specific health conditions, and reveal some of the secrets around healing, which I think you'll find very interesting. So I better get moving. We're going to get short of time soon. So toxins affecting our liver. We know that chronic liver disease and cirrhosis is caused by drinking too much alcohol. And millions die every year from this liver injury. So that's the main cause of that. But there's also another powerful way to destroy your liver, and that's with pharmaceutical drugs. And you can poison your liver with other things, that naturally occurring substances as well. But the most common cause of liver injury is drug induced. And I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. Up to 16% of hospital admissions are due to drugs that have been prescribed. So this is highly destructive to the liver. Even Panadol itself can destroy a liver if you take enough of it. Now, this is a really interesting one, fatty liver disease, which relates more to diet. And this is closely linked with the overconsumption of processed foods, especially sugars and processed carbohydrates, which accumulate and eventually get converted into fats and can actually cause the liver to fail. And this is a major concern with fatty liver disease, is it's undiagnosed, and they suspect 30% of the population or more may have an undiagnosed fatty liver. So another reason to do a cleanse, to do a detox, is to clear your liver of congestion and fats, and also to help to improve the health of your liver, which herbs and foods are known to do, specific herbs and foods. And so you can dig into that here as well, read more about your liver, and see the liver detox program if you think you have a liver condition. And you'll also find out more about how to identify liver conditions there. Now, just moving on to your kidneys. So another detox system, which of course we don't need to do anything about because your body deals with its toxins itself, and you never get problems with your detox organs, do you? Like your kidneys or your liver. And in fact, these are very, very common. So now just talking about kidney failure here, more than 8 million Americans have loss of kidney function, and nearly 400,000 require dialysis to stay alive. Kidney disease is increasing at an alarming rate around the world, and there is no cure. And I don't know if I've listed it here too, but they don't really know the cause. So people with diabetes and blood sugar issues can have kidney problems. And one of the most common kidney problems also is kidney stones. About 11% of men and 6% of women suffer with kidney stones during their lifetime. Too much protein. Now, the reason too much protein causes kidney stones, and so you could say anything can become toxic. We know that you can overhydrate and you can have too much air. You can, hyperventilate. So air can become toxic. Water can become toxic. But in this case, it's protein. So too much protein causes an acid load, and that acid load causes your body to dump calcium, and the calcium primarily is what kidney stones are made of. So it's an attempt to alkalize your body, and your kidneys do this. The kidneys are responsible for alkalizing your body. So you get a double whammy and end up with kidney stones. There are really good ways to resolve kidney stones with herbs and with food. And of course, gout. Now, gout is actually a problem with uric acid accumulation, which your kidneys should get rid of. And so if your kidneys are not functioning properly, you start getting gout. Or if you have too much acid and too much protein, a toxic level of acid and protein in your diet. So I'm just going to go quickly through the last one now, which is the respiratory system. Now, the respiratory system, we all know that these problems are very common. Asthma, COPD, it's chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or disorder is becoming more common, and people are dying from this obstructive pulmonary disorder in hospitals. People die from asthma as well. It's a terrible, terrible disease, and there's some numbers on here. 235 million people currently suffering with asthma, and 383,000 deaths due to asthma. This is in 2015. And I'm just going to wind this up now because we're running out of time. Try to keep this under 20 minutes. But just in summary, you can see how our most common health conditions can be closely related to toxicity in the body, and how those toxins can be everyday things: processed foods, meats, pharmaceutical drugs. Very, very simple things can become toxic over time. And how this happens is it gradually builds up. And so it doesn't happen overnight, usually. So even the problem with liver failure and drinking, that happens over many years of drinking. Or, you could do it with a huge amount of, powerful alcohol in a very short time. But usually it happens over years and decades. It's a bit like smoking. So I call this the gradual sustained toxicity, the GST effect. So it's something that creeps up on you. It's subtle, and you don't realize that you're paying GST all the time on everything you buy, and depending on which country you're in, but it's goods and service tax. So in other words, it happens slowly and incrementally over a long period of time, and we're slowly being robbed of our health. And we don't realize we're paying this goods and service tax. But in the same way, the gradual sustained toxicity and incremental increases in toxicity over many years can cause these diseases in our body to occur. And so I highly recommend, if you get a chance to, and I'll actually flick this up now for you if I can do it before I go, the toxin calculator QR code. So I'll just change that QR code and you'll see it pop up there. Is to try that. Oops, there it goes. The toxin calculator, because you can go through a list, find out what's maybe bugging your body, and get a rating on your toxicity. And if you want to dig further into those health conditions, just click on the links on the page there. And I'll just unshare, and just wanted to let you know that, I mean, it sounds like all bad news, but there's a lot you can do, and really, really simple changes you can make, and just little steps you can take in your lifestyle, your habits, and your diet. And introducing the herbs. Herbal medicines have a powerful healing effect on those detox systems. So I'm going to let you go now, and we'll talk again next week. But make some comments if you've got anything to say or any questions to ask. I'd love to hear your feedback, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.